Yes, hello friends, good afternoon. Am I audible and visible? Somebody please ping me so that I can begin with today's session. Yes, guys. Good afternoon. And how are you guys? Hope every one of you are doing well. Yes, am I audible and visible? Please somebody ping me so that I can begin with today's session. Yes, SS, good afternoon. Thank you. So guys, let's begin with one of the other important topics of modern Indian history, that is Surat split and Morley-Minto reforms. For the aspirants who are new to the platform, let me give you a brief background about the Indian National Congress so that you can easily understand the concept of Surat split and Morley-Minto reforms. The session won't be much longer. It is 35 to 40 minute session, but a very important one, because time and again there have been questions in the UPSC examination, particularly about different acts. And one among the major acts is Morley-Minto reforms 1909, also referred as Indian Council Act 1909. Correct? So please stick in the video till the end. Now, before I begin with Surat split, let me give you a brief introduction about the Congress. I have already covered Indian National Congress in quite depth and detail. I have covered the Swadeshi movement in quite depth and detail along with the All India Muslim League. But let's go for a 5-minute quick revision for easier understanding of this topic. Okay? Now, Indian National Congress was formed at Gokuldas Tejpal Sanskrit College on 28 December 1885. And the first session of Indian National Congress was held at Bombay and presided by Vomesh Chandra Banerjee, attended by 72 delegates. The second session of Indian National Congress was held at Calcutta and was presided by the Grand Old Man of India, Dadabhai Navroji, and it was attended by more than 400 delegates, precisely 434 to 436 delegates. The third session of the INC was presided by, yes, the first minority president, Badruddin Tayyabji. Now, right from the start itself, Indian National Congress was divided on ideological basis. And particularly, many historians do believe that from 1885 to 1905, Indian National Congress was dominated by an ideology, particularly the moderates ideology. So, who are moderates? Who are extremists? Let's understand in what we say in a quick revision. Now, as I've told you, ideologically, Indian National Congress was divided into two parts. One was moderates and the other was extremist. As the name suggests, moderates had a very different pattern of working. They believed in prayer, protest, and petition. They believed that we want independence, but not all of a sudden, in a gradual step-by-step manner. On the other hand, extremists, they believe that we want complete independence. Moderates believe that we want transfer of power, but that should be peaceful and bloodless. But the extremists believe that if we have to go for violent activities, we will be doing that. And if we have to adopt extra constitutional means for attaining the goal of independence or the Swaraj, we will do that. And the most important extremist leader particularly was Bal Gangadhar Tilakji, who was imprisoned for the first time in 1897 by the Britishers. Correct? Now, let me give you a brief introduction about Bal Gangadhar Tilakji. In short, Bal Gangadhar Tilakji, he was born in a Chitpavan Brahmin family at a place called as Chithali, which is a village in Ratnagiri district of Maharashtra, particularly at that time the part of Bombay Presidency. At the very young age, he got his degree in bachelor's in mathematics from Deccan College. Later on, he got enrolled in the masters, but he quit the masters and he adopted a course for LLB from the Government Law College. With the help of one of his friends, whose name was Vishnu Shastri Chiplunkar, he established Deccan Education Society, later on also referred as Ferguson College. Now, he had two major newspapers, Maharatha and second was Kesari. Kesari was a Marathi newspaper and he published one article in the newspaper Kesari for which he was being imprisoned. At that time, around 1896, 1897, major parts of India were under the grip of famine. And there were conditions like epidemics and plague. At that time, in the Kesari newspaper, Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji published an article. And that article was in the form of a poem, and it was dedicated to Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj ji. And the article's title was Shivaji's Utterances. So I'll tell you the crux of that article. In that, basically it has been mentioned in the opening lines of the article that Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj ji, he woke up from his heavenly sleep and he saw the condition of India under the British Raj. And he heavily criticized the rule of the Britishers in India. And he asked for Swaraj. Apart from this, he also criticized the condition of plague and epidemics that was going on in India, and the major reason for that was Britishers. And immediately in 1896-1897, the Plague Commissioner of Pune, W.C. Rand, he was being assassinated. So Britishers thought that this article referred as Shivaji's Utterances published in Kesari by Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji was responsible for assassination of the Plague Commissioner W.C. Rand. Immediately in 1897, Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji was imprisoned after conducting a trial for the next 18 months. So Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji was one of the most important extremist leaders. Now comes 1905. And we had discussed in quite depth and detail. At that time, the Viceroy of India was Lord Curzon. And Lord Curzon was very infamous for his policy of divide and rule. He divided the Bengal on the pretext that Bengal has become too big to be administered by a single Viceroy. Correct? So he divided the Bengal into two parts, West Bengal and East Bengal. But what was the actual hidden agenda of the Britishers? The major hidden agenda of the Britishers was to hurt the communal fabric of the country. They wanted to divide India on communal lines. Why? West Bengal was a Hindu majority province and East Bengal was a Muslim majority province. And against this partition of Bengal, there started an anti-partition movement in the form of Swadeshi movement. Correct? Now, the call for Swadeshi movement was taken at Banaras session of Indian National Congress in 1905, presided by Gopal Krishna Gokhale ji, who was a moderate leader. Correct? Now, another important card that Britishers play in India is what? Apart from divide and rule, carrot and stick policy. And from the very first session, as I've told you, Britishers have played this policy. If you have to suppress one particular section of the society, you have to take the other section on your side. And Britishers from 1885 knew one thing. There is ideological differences within the Indian National Congress. And now they took advantage of this. Now, Swadeshi movement, it began from the region of Bengal. And initially, it was decided that the Swadeshi movement would just be confined to the region of Bengal. Correct? In 1905. Now, Swadeshi movement is also referred as Vande Mataram movement. Now, Swadeshi movement, it became quite famous in the region of Bengal. So, there were many extremist leaders like Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji, certain leaders like Aurobindo Ghosh ji, Bipin Chandrapal ji, Lala Lajpat Rai ji. They believed that if the movement is successful, why don't we take this movement pan-India? So, the movement from the region of Bengal, it spread to the region of Bombay Presidency, and the major role was played by Tilak ji. It spread to the region of United Provinces. It spread to the region of Punjab. It spread to the region of Delhi. And the credit goes to Sayyid Haidar Raza. It spread to the region of Madras Presidency. The credit goes to Chidambaram Pillai. So Swadeshi movement, initially which was decided to be confined in the region of Bengal, now became a pan-India movement. Now comes the 1906 session of Indian National Congress. Everyone knew this, that moderates and extremists have huge differences. Because from 1885 to 1905, the Indian National Congress was being dominated by the politics of the moderates. And extremists criticized moderates that since past 20 years, you have maintained loyalty towards Britishers. You have came up with prayers, protest and petition. What is the output of that? Just Indian Council Act 1892. That's it. So here, Swadeshi movement, although it was being started by a moderate leader, the key role to spread the Swadeshi movement was being played by different extremist leaders. Now comes the session of Indian National Congress in 1906. Everyone wanted Lala Lajpat Rai ji to be the president or Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji to be the president. But the extremist section believed that diplomatically, moderates have portrayed the name of Dadabhai Navroji, who is also referred as the grand old man of India. And although he was a moderate leader, he is revered and respected by every nationalist, irrespective whether he's a moderate or an extremist. So in 1906 session, which was held at Calcutta, like here, rather than Lala Lajpat Rai ji or Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji, it is believed that Dadabhai Navroji, he became the president. But extremists were successful in passing 4 resolutions. UPSC has asked a direct question, which among the following are the 4 Calcutta resolutions? So which are they? Swaraj, Swadeshi, boycott and national education. So extremists were successful in getting these resolutions passed, and these are referred as 4 Calcutta resolution. Next year, 1907, and the session was to be held particularly in Bombay Presidency, around the region of Pune. And Pune, Bombay, these are hub of Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji. Now, moderates felt that if the session is held in the region of Pune, obviously Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji is going to preside or Lala Lajpat Rai ji is going to preside. And already there were huge differences between moderates and extremists now, because extremists believe that the time is ripe that we have to start a movement throughout the country. And when the time is ripe, where are moderates? Moderates are sitting in London and negotiating further reforms with the Secretary of State of India, Mr. Morley. Correct? And in fact, moderates are a drag on the movement. This was the belief of the extremists. On the other hand, the moderate leaders believe that we have nurtured Indian National Congress carefully for the past 20 years. And working with extremists is like entering into dangerous waters. Already their ship is sinking. And if we enter into that ship, the ship will capsize. This was the belief of moderates. So already there were huge differences between the moderates and extremists between 1905 and 1906. Now comes the Surat session of 1907. The Surat session of 1907, it was held on the banks of river Tapti, and the venue was shifted from Pune to the region of Surat. Why? Extremists again believed that this was a diplomatic game that was being played by the moderates. Why? There was a rule in the Indian National Congress, and that rule goes like, if a session is held in a particular presidency, the host cannot preside the session. So Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji thought that in that case, if I cannot preside the session on my behalf, Lala Lajpat Rai ji will preside the session of the Indian National Congress. So it is believed that moderates played another card by shifting the venue from Pune to Surat. Now, remember the 4 Calcutta resolution? Swaraj, Swadeshi, boycott and national education. There was a rumor that spread, and there were more than 2,000 delegates that participated in Surat session of Indian National Congress in 1907. Again, everyone wanted either Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji to preside or Lala Lajpat Rai to preside. Moderates suggested the name of other person whose name was Ras Bihari Ghosh. It is not Bose, it is Ras Bihari Ghosh. I repeat, because in one of the sentences it is mentioned as Bose, it is Ghosh. Okay? So session was held in Surat. Lala Lajpat Rai had to step down, and in that case, this person, Raj Bihari Ghosh ji, he became the president. There was a rumor at this time, and the rumor was that the Indian National Congress is going to scuttle, it is going to annul, it is going to cancel the 4 Calcutta resolution. It was not the fact, it was just a rumor. And moderates and extremists, the most mature moderate leader was Gopal Krishna Gokhale ji, One of the most mature leaders of the extremists was Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji. And both of them knew one thing, that both of them have differences. And in that case, if over the issue of presidentship, if we fight, this will create a political vacuum in the country. And this is what it happened. Now, Ras Bihari Ghosh, he became the president. Firoz Shah Mehta, one of the most revered lawyer of Bombay presidency and one of the most revered moderate leader, who is also referred as Lion of Bombay, he stood up to address the session. And just beside him, there was another important moderate leader sitting, whose name was Surendranath Banerjee. He is also referred as Indian Burke. Correct? We had studied that day. He is referred as Indian Burke. He was the first Indian journalist to be imprisoned. So as soon as Firoz Shah Mehta stood up to address the session, some unidentified person, he threw or he hurled a shoe on Firoz Shah Mehta ji. After some time, another unidentified person hurled a shoe on Surendranath Banerjee. And after some time, the entire hall, it got converted into a battleground. There was a complete chaotic situation. And at this point of time, the entire suspect goes on whom? The extremist leaders. Why it goes on extremist leaders? Because both of them who were hurted were moderate leaders. Rather it be Firoz Shah Mehta ji or it be Surendranath Banerjee. Correct? In fact, Bal Gangadhar Tilak wrote a virtual letter of apology, virtual letter of regret to Firoz Shah Mehta ji, because he wanted to avoid the split, because he knew the dangers of the split. And this is what happened. Correct? And Britishers wanted this because from 1908 to 1914, there was political vacuum in the country. People had accepted slavery as a part of their life. And then in 1914, there comes a lady into India whose name was Annie Besant. And in April 1916 and September 1916, there revived another movement in the form of Home Rule League movement. So almost for a span of 6 to 8 years, there was a political vacuum in the country. And this is what Britishers wanted. Correct? So this event in the history of modern India is referred as Surat split. Hope so the points are clear, guys. Now, as I have told you, one important thing. Now Britishers played a card of what? Carrot and stick policy. Since although the movement was being started, Swadeshi movement was being started by a moderate leader, the major role in spreading the movement goes to the extremist leaders. Britishers came up heavily on the extremist leaders. And we had studied in the different newspaper acts that Britishers has come up, like Indian Newspaper Act 1908 and Indian Press Act 1910. Both these acts were against the extremist newspapers. Aurobindo Ghosh, he went to Pondicherry and established Auroville Ashram. Bipin Chandra Pal ji, he retired from active politics. Correct? Apart from this, if we see Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji, he was imprisoned for 6 years in Mandalay jail and finally released in 1914. And now Britishers had come up with one important act which is referred as Morley-Minto Reforms 1909 or Indian Council Act 1909. Again, one important thing about this act. It is shadow rather than substance. You are showing something different and you are giving us something different. That is Morley-Minto Reforms. Correct? Hope you understood Surat split, guys. Any question, any query, any doubt, please feel free to ask. Yes, guys. Yes, Alessia, good afternoon. Yes. Yes, guys, since in every lecture I give you certain additional information, so today I'll give you one additional information. You might have heard about Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Okay, another important story of 2 minutes, again a very interesting one. We'll study about the Jallianwala Bagh massacre in quite depth and detail, which occurred in 1919. But have you heard about something called as Jallianwala Bagh of Rajasthan? Correct. Like there is one incident hidden in the book of history, and that incident is referred as Mangar tragedy. Have you heard about this incident? Mangar tragedy. Now guys, around 1913, Mangar tragedy, it took place in the region of Rajasthan. And Mangar tragedy is also referred as Jallianwala Bagh of Rajasthan. Why? I'll tell you one important fact. Like, there was one of the most important socio-religious reformers in the region of Rajasthan whose name was Govind Giri. He was also referred as Govind Guruji, and he brought many socio-religious reforms among the Bhil tribe. Now, the name Bhil has been derived from the word Bilu, which means bow and arrow. Correct? So, the Bhil tribe, they, like Britishers, had imposed all sorts of illegal taxes on the Bhils, and they exacted huge and surplus amount of money from the Bhils. So, in the region of Mangar, it is believed that many Bhils gathered under the leadership of Govind Guruji, also referred as Govind Giriji. It is believed that more than 20,000 Bhils had gathered here, and they had put forward charter or demands of they had put forward 34 demands or 34 charter demands in front of the Britishers. Forget about listening to these demands. These Bhil tribe, the people of the Bhil tribe, were being fired upon by the Britishers. It is believed that more than 1,500 Bhils lost their lives. And this is referred as Jallianwala Bagh of Rajasthan, also referred as Mangar tragedy, one of the hidden incidences in the books of history. Please answer in the comment section which event is referred as Jallianwala Bagh of Madhya Pradesh. I'll give you a small hint. This is an event related to Chhatarpur district of Madhya Pradesh. Okay. So coming back to our most important topic, again, Morley-Minto reforms. Hope you got the points. Yes, Elsia, thank you. Morley-Minto reforms. Now, why did Britishers come up with Morley-Minto reforms now? Was there any major reason that Britishers have come up with Morley-Minto reforms? Yes. And what was that? There were, let me go back 3 years back. In 1906, two major incidents made Britishers to come up with Morley-Minto reforms. First incident, Liberal Party came to power in Britain, and Liberal Party had the agenda of giving some deliberate powers to the Indians. First one. Second major aspect, in 1906, there was formation of All India Muslim League, and All India Muslim League at this particular point of time was demanding separate electorate. We'll understand what is separate electorate all about. Correct? They were demanding separate electorate. Okay? Now, apart from this, there was Surat split, and there was a major movement that was going on in the country in the form of Swadeshi movement. So Britishers were under immense pressure to bring something in front of the Indians. So they put forward Morley-Minto reforms in 1909, also referred as Indian Council Act 1909. Now, why it is referred as Morley-Minto reforms? Morley was Secretary of State for India and Minto was Viceroy of India. Hence, it is referred as Morley-Minto reforms. Now, let's understand in a step-by-step manner about the Morley-Minto reforms. Just give me a second. This is 1892. This is 1909. Let me go back to Lord Canning's Indian Council Act 1861. Now, as per Indian Council Act 1861, Viceroy's Executive Council will have 6 members. Pay attention carefully, a very important concept, guys. So, as per 1861, Viceroy's Executive Council will have 6 members. Law, Military, Home, Revenue, Finance and Public Works. I repeat, Law, Military, home, revenue, finance, and public work. As per Indian Council Act, Viceroy had the power to make ordinances that will remain till 6 months. Correct? Now he can make a law on any particular subject. So this was the discretionary power of Viceroy, 1861. Then comes Indian Council Act 1892, which is considered as one of the most important achievements of the moderates. So as per this Indian Council Act 1892, Viceroy's Executive Council's members were retained in a similar manner. There was no single Indian member in the Viceroy's Executive Council. Okay? In 1892, the number of members in the Imperial Legislative Council was approximately 10 to 16. Simple words, minimum 10 members, maximum 16 members. And these 16 members are not directly elected. Correct? Now they were indirectly elected. There was a body which consists of zamindar, money lenders, members from the Chamber of Commerce, university boards and municipalities. They are going to elect these 16 members. Obviously, these people or this section were loyal towards Britishers. And obviously, they are going to elect the people who will remain loyal towards Britishers. So here, as per Indian Council Act 1892, minimum number of members would be 10, maximum number of members would be 16. Correct? Budget could be discussed, but budget could not be voted upon. So what is the use of that discussion? Isn't that so? You can discuss the budget. For example, like Britishers are continuously following the policy of expansionism. They are following the policy of imperialism. And they are fighting with different European countries in search of colonies. Particularly, they were fighting with France. Hence, the battle between Britain and France is referred as a global war. True? So, in that case, where is the money coming for buying arms, ammunitions, equipments, military weapons? The money is coming from India. So, there were members in the Imperial Legislative Council who criticized this policy. You can discuss it, but you cannot vote upon it. So, what is the use of discussing it? Correct? Now comes Morley-Minto reforms. Now, as per Morley-Minto reforms, let's understand what are the important things or changes that they have made. First, 1861, Viceroy's Executive Council had 6 members, all of them English. 1892, again, Viceroy's Executive Council had 6 members, all of them again whom? Britishers. But in Morley-Minto reforms or Indian Council Act 1909, among 6, 1 was an Indian member. So he was particularly the law member. Correct? So as per Morley-Minto reforms, for the first time, an Indian was included into the Viceroy's Executive Council. And the first Indian was Satyendra Prasanna Sinha, also referred as Satyendra Nath Sinha. First Indian in the Viceroy's Executive Council. Correct. Now, the number of members in the Imperial Legislative Council were increased from 16 to 60. Correct. One might think, yes, actually the Britishers are interested in transferring or gradually transferring the powers to Indians. Guys, this is shadow rather than substance. This is not the actual truth. Let's understand how. Now, it seems like Britishers have increased the seats by 4 times, 16 to 60. Britishers are actually interested in transferring the powers to Indian. This is not the truth. How? Let's understand. 16 to 60. Out of 60, 33 would be nominated. And they would be nominated by the Britishers. Obviously, Britishers are going to nominate those people who are loyal towards them. Then comes 27 seats. Among 27 seats, 8 seats were reserved for Muslim section because Muslims were demanding separate electorate from 1906 itself. Correct? Now, what is separate electorate? Let's understand with the help of a small example. Suppose there is a constituency, and in that constituency, there are 100 members. Out of 100, 70 are Muslims. And 30, they belong to other community. If a constituency is reserved under separate electorate, the candidate from that constituency will only be Muslim and the voters will also be Muslim. This is called a separate electorate. In very simple words, out of these 70, suppose there are two candidates who are standing for election. Both the candidates would be Muslims. Apart from this, the 70 people had the right to vote. So, the voter and the candidate both belong to the same community. These 30, they do not have the right to participate in the election in any manner. This is called as separate electorate. Hope so the points are clear, guys. Shall I repeat? Yes? Do you want me to repeat the concept? Because it's a very crucial one, guys. I'll repeat again. Suppose there's a constituency with a population of 100. 70 are Muslims and rest 30 belong to the other community. If a constituency is reserved under separate electorate, for Muslim, the candidate who will stand for election would compulsorily be a Muslim and the voter also mandatorily needs to be a Muslim. These 30 cannot participate in the election in any manner. So as per Morley-Minto reforms 1909 or Indian Council Act 1909, separate electorate was introduced for Muslims and 8 seats were reserved for Muslim. Got it? Apart from this, 6 were reserved for zamindars, big landlords, big money lenders. Again, these people are loyal towards whom? Britishers. And 2 were for whom? British capitalist. 8 plus 6 plus 2 is equal to 16. How many seats are left? 11. How many seats are portrayed? 27. And in general, how many seats are portrayed here? 60. Can you imagine how in a very methodological manner, in a very systematic manner, Britishers are trying to fool us? Like we will feel that the number of seats have been increased from 16 to 60. And what is the actual figure here? You can see by yourself. Correct? So this is nothing but Morley-Minto reforms. You can discuss the budget. Apart from this, discussing the budget, one can ask supplementary questions. One can discuss the issues of local importance. But again, one thing, budget cannot be voted upon. Secondly, in fact, the Governor General in the Council can disallow the discussion on the budget as well. Correct? So, the complete discretionary power lies with the Governor General in that case. And this, in few words, is referred as Morley-Minto reforms. Hope so the points are clear. Guys, pay attention again. I'm repeating this concept for you again within next 2 minutes because it's a very important one. Okay? As per Indian Council Act 1861, Viceroy's Executive Council had 6 members, all of them English. Viceroy had the ordinance making power. Then comes Indian Council Act 1892. Again, the Viceroy's Executive Council was retained with 6 members. As per Indian Council Act 1892, the minimum number of members would be 10, maximum would be 16. All of them would be indirectly elected. Budget could be discussed, not voted upon. Then comes what we say Morley-Minto reforms. 60. Out of 60, 33 were nominated, 27 were elected. Many believe that this was 28 and this was 32. Correct? But we'll follow the major historical sources, 33 and 27. So 33 are nominated and 8 seats among 27 are elected. 8 seats are reserved for Muslim under separate electorate. 6 for big landlords and zamindars, 2 for British capitalists. Then, as per Morley-Minto reform, an Indian was added into the Viceroy's Executive Council and the first Indian law member was, yes, Satyendranath Sinha. Hope so the points are clear, guys. Everything is mentioned in the PDF. Apart from this, the size of the Provincial Legislative Council was also changed. Now, 50 members were there in Bombay, Madras, Bengal and United Province. And in Assam, Burma and Punjab, there were 30 members. Correct? So this is majorly about the Morley-Minto reforms. Are the points clear, guys? Yes, SS. Wonderful. Charan Paduka tragedy. True. Which incident is referred as Jallianwala Bagh of Madhya Pradesh? So answer is Charan Paduka tragedy. It has been mentioned by SS Talks. Wonderful one. Hope you understood now. Yes, guys. Is it clear now? Any question, any query, any doubt, please feel free to ask. The next session again won't be much lengthier. It would be 35 to 40-minute session, and the session would be on Home Rule League, Lucknow Merger and Lucknow Pact, among which the Lucknow Merger and Lucknow Pact is a very important one, because now All India Muslim League will start working with Indian National Congress. Correct? So guys, now let me tell you something about the Sampurna batch. The Sampurna batch is starting from 24th of March in the morning 8 a.m. and it has wonderful facilities like Prelims and Mains Residential Program, rupees 11,000 monthly reward to the top performers, full refund of the fees once you qualify the prelims examination, and apart from this, interview guidance program. So to avail the benefits of this batch, you can use my code that is flashing on your screen, Alok Live. I repeat, Alok Live. Guys, those who are new to the platform, I'll inform you one thing. Like many students have a query, sir, where to download the PDF of the session from. You can download the PDF of the session from my Telegram channel, that is history_Alok Ojha. I repeat, history_Alok Ojha. You can download the PDF from there. Okay, guys? So hope you understood the concept. Yes. So with this, I'll stop my words for the day. On Monday, I'll be coming up with Home Rule League movement and another interesting story for you associated with history. Correct, guys? So with this, I stop my words for the day. Thank you and have a wonderful weekend and a wonderful day.